You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one thing that has been very nerve-wracking, and is it nerve-wracking? Nerve-wracking or nerve-wracking? Both. Is throughout the years that I have been in practice, we get these drug shortages. And the vulnerability we have when we cannot manufacture our own drugs or we rely on China or another country is mind-boggling. Why we haven't addressed this situation, and it's 2025. So President Donald Trump has announced a 100% tariff on brand name, not generics, but brand name pharmaceuticals that are going to be imported into this country starting October 1, unless they have a plant or can make the drugs here in America. Now, most pharmaceutical companies do have a way to manufacture in America. So I know people are panicking saying, oh, every prescription is now going to go up. But CNN is reporting that the drug maker needs to have a plant or be building a manufacturing plant in the U.S. to avoid the tariff. So, as you know, Trump has been, a big fan of avoiding, shall we say, the discrepancy of us getting charged more than other countries. And so tariffs is a way for him to bring in revenue as well as let other countries know we're not going to pay a higher price than you are. The problem we have, which makes this a very delicate balance, is pharmaceutical prices are expensive when they're being sold to Americans. Now, you could get pharmaceuticals way cheaper in other countries. And Trump has also vowed to address that as well. The bigger problem, though, of the two is us not having the ability to manufacture our own drugs domestically. That is frightening. And year after year, we see drug shortages, and they really don't make the headlines. I mean, I tell you guys about them. I check the website. I let you know we're having cancer drug shortages. We're having Tamiflu shortages for flu. We're having Ozempic shortages. We're having these shortages, and they don't make national headlines. And then we have to pray and hope that we could get our drugs from China, or we could get our drugs from the EU, or get our drugs from Mexico. That's not the strongest position to be in from a healthcare standpoint. So what CNN is reporting is that Trump made a Truth Social post saying that, let me see, that to avoid the tariff, the pharmaceutical company should be building, will be defined as breaking ground and or under construction. There will therefore be no tariff on these pharmaceutical products if construction has started. So Eli Lilly has announced they're going to construct a $6.5 billion manufacturing facility in Houston. They also are building a $5 billion plant outside of Richmond, Virginia. Well, Eli Lilly are the makers of Mounjaro as well as multiple other drugs. So this is huge. I know there's going to be a lot of people speaking out about it and going to be grumpy saying, oh, this is ridiculous. This is a mess. But I need to know how, I mean, as a physician and as a patient, how we are going to have drugs made domestically, how we are going to stop being vulnerable and dependent on other countries, and how we're going to bring in jobs and strengthen our medical infrastructure. Well, that really relies on the pharmaceutical company skeleton and network that we are relying for our medications. I mean, sadly, we're going to be hearing about more drug shortages. this winter. And these drug shortages are frightening as heck. And, and again, this isn't generics. Generics we could still get from Mexico. We could still get from China. But, an issue a lot of us doctors have, and I can't speak for all medical professionals, but when we had those recalls of the blood pressure medication, and we kept being told there was NDMA, NDEA, which were nitrosamine byproducts linked to cancer, and the European oversight committee had discovered that it was a generic manufacturing plant in China who, used a one of their manufacturing processes, unfortunately created this as a byproduct. So we spoke about this years ago, saying, well, how do we know the other pharmaceutical generic companies aren't also using that same process? And we saw recall after recall of these medications. Well, we're relying on Chinese oversight and European oversight. I think the European Medical Oversight Committee did a great job figuring this out, but we need to be overseeing our own drugs. Now, again, this tariff does not apply to generics. This is to get the brand name companies to invest in America and get these brand name companies or patented drugs here domestically produced, which I think is a smart move. Now, people will say, but the tariff, it's going to raise prices. If they're breaking ground, if they have a plant, if they're, going to be doing production in America, there's no tariff. If they persist on, no, we're going to be overseas, this is what we want to do, then yeah, there will be, there will be the tariff. Insurance companies already have set prices. Medicare has set prices. It could affect a person paying cash for their, shall we say, weight loss drug or something brand name. But if Eli Lilly is already breaking ground, you don't have to worry about Mounjaro being a part of this. So we are going to know after October 1, what are some of these drugs that are going to be, shall we say, affected by the tariff for these companies. And we will know if they're going to, start production in America or not. But I think in the long run, this is something that's going to help. 1-877-Doc-Daliah. Don't go away. Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So yesterday we talked about how doctors are, debating and divided on how we should move forward as it pertains to RFK Jr.'s recommendations to make our children healthy again. Part of the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again, and the Make America Healthy Again, a section of that is Make Our Children Healthy Again. And so when I hear doctors, which we all should kind of be on the same page on this, when I see them so divided, yeah, and you can tell that, politics are kind of interweaving in this. It's frustrating because my goal, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, my goal is addressing the issues we are having with kids. What am I seeing as a physician? Well, I'm seeing pediatric obesity skyrocket. We should not be having obese kids. In the olden days, there were some kids that were obese. They might have had an endocrine disorder. They might have had an orthopedic issue preventing them from being active. They might have had, some poor eating habits, but for the most part, our kids were skinnier. I also see lack of physical endurance, physical ability, physical resilience. I see rising diabetes, rising cholesterol, high blood pressure. I don't want to see a 10-year-old child with high cholesterol, yet this is what we're seeing now. We're also seeing more depression, more anxiety. I have never seen so many kids on antidepressants. That's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. We're having a rise in ADD and hyperactivity, attention deficit as well as hyperactivity. We're seeing rises in autism. And so this administration has made it a goal to try and get to the bottom of this. Now, of course, that's not without its controversy. Well, is Tylenol a big factor? Are vaccines a big factor? Are the food additives a big factor? I mean, I think it's multifactorial. So I'm asking you all, if we want to make our pediatric population healthy again and less sad and less anxious and a less attention deficit and have fewer autism numbers and have them more athletic and more physically fit and have also more academic aptitude, our academic aptitudes and proficiencies are dropping. What do you suggest we address? What needs to be looked at? Trump is in office for 3 years and 3 months left. RFK Jr., unsure if he would still be with Trump or be with the new administration. I understand he's a Democrat by trade, but his Make America Healthy Again aligns with MAGA, and many Democrats and liberals might not be in agreement with that. So if we are going to have a campaign to make our children healthy again, what needs to be done now and also not reversed with the new administration? So let's hear from you all. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. We went from healthy, energetic kids, eating balanced meals, and we had junk food. We had sugar in the olden days, but not to this degree. So, my recommendation first and foremost is let's stop junk food being on SNAP. Supplemental nutrition, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is supposed to be giving our kids nutrition and giving families nutrition. And if money is starting to be limited in funding, then let's stop the funding for junk food and ensure that it goes to healthy food. I also think we need to reevaluate how we're doing physical fitness in schools. Unfortunately, physical fitness is sometimes the only exercise these kids are getting because they're at home watching TV or playing video games or whatnot. And I think physical fitness should be something done every day. Everybody should be exercising every day. And there should be remediation for kids that can't do a sit-up, that can't do a push-up, that can't do a crunch, that can't walk or run a mile. If they do not have a so if we have a child that is failing in proficiency, I think President Trump is trying to bring back the presidential fitness test. If we have kids that are unable to do the milestones of where they should be. I mean, we evaluate 1-year-olds and 15-month-olds and 2-year-olds on their milestones. If kids are not hitting physical milestones as well, they should have a medical evaluation by their pediatrician. Is it asthma? Is there an orthopedic issue? Do they have a cardiac issue? Do they have, cardiomyopathy? We should, one, make sure a medical provider evaluates them, and two, have a remediation process, just like we have with an academic remediation, where, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to work with you guys on your hand-eye coordination. We're going to help you learn how to throw. We're going to help you learn how to walk, how to hike, how to run a mile. And let's work on them to be physically fit. I think another thing we need to do to get our children healthy again is to address these food additives and a lot of the BS that they're getting into their food. I do not think Skittles needs to be able to be seen from space. What the hell is in that food coloring? And seeing a bowl of Skittles from across the room is not anything that's going to help a child nutritionally. So I'm a big fan that RFK Jr. and the MAHA movement is trying to address food additives. It's about time. About time. We also need to look at our antibiotic resistance and our superbugs. We are having kids with drug-resistant impetigo now. And we're seeing kids with drug-resistant strep. And now that we're using more telemedicine platforms, you have the unfortunate occurrence where a mom says, yeah, my kid is strep, give them an antibiotic. And if the medical provider, is not evaluating them thoroughly, and if the child's not getting swabbed, and if the image, is not good enough for a provider to see, that child might get antibiotics when they don't need them. And then, which is another thing that needs to be looked at. Have we been hurting our kids by over prescribing antibiotics? Why is their mental health suffering? Why do we have so many children on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication? These are things that need to be looked at. In terms of our vaccine protocol, I love the fact that we have vaccines. I love that we have limited and eradicated some very dangerous diseases. But have we evaluated the vaccine efficacy and safety? Are we sure that a COVID vaccine, an mRNA COVID vaccine at 6 months of age is necessary? Does it interfere with the child's other vaccines when you co-administer it? Did we, has that been tested? Now, in terms of them building immunity to their current vaccine that they're given, I absolutely think vaccines and their the dosing and the administration and the numbers should always be reevaluated. Look at how MMR, we had people get measles who were vaccinated. Do we need a booster? Is anybody reevaluated if we need a booster? We always have to reevaluate this information. This is paramount. And so what would you recommend either this administration does or future administrations do if we have such a rise in childhood obesity, mental health issues, poor academic proficiency? We have to do something. And so, many people are finding fault with Trump, and I understand that Tylenol press conference didn't go as well as I think he had hoped. But what are we doing about in utero medicine exposure and radiation exposure? And, should that be looked at? I know a lot of doctors are like, it's about time somebody's been talking about Tylenol. We've been seeing studies for years suggesting a link. Why aren't we, warning parents and patients to, use with caution and talk to their doctor about, the lowest necessary dose? When you have an over-the-counter medication, the problem is many medical providers don't know the patient is taking it. Not to mention, many individuals now don't have an OB-GYN. So when they do get pregnant, because they haven't been going in for regular pap smears and they've been using telemedicine, they sometimes don't get in with an obstetrician till deep into second trimester. So if they don't know, and they first trimester and second trimester are taking over-the-counter medications that they have no idea what could have risks, somebody needs to, educate people on that if they don't have one-on-one FaceTime with a medical provider. 1-877-Doc-Daliah, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. All right, so we're getting a little bit of updates here that I want to hear. I apologize. The Facebook Live has been a little kind of spotty. So for those of you that are getting it, great. For those of you not, you're actually lucky because you really don't want to see me. I'm not. Again, I have a face for radio. So thank you guys for being patient as I try to get my show up for you. It just blows my mind that radio is now visual. Podcasts are visual. Gosh. Yeah, I mean, I had to start wearing clothes. I had to start wearing makeup. I had to start brushing my teeth. I had to start waxing my upper lip. I mean, honestly, to have video when you have a job in radio is a little daunting. So we have some updates in the Israel-Gaza war. Still 20, I believe, live hostages remain. I was just in Israel, and you see the country still in mourning, and pictures of individuals who were lost and killed and still in captivity. The hostage situation persists, and Hamas not appearing to be budging on releasing them. Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the UN today, and I thought his speech was very good and very forceful. He actually delineated, he reminded everybody what happened on October 7th and how they have gone through great lengths to avoid Palestinian casualties by texting them, giving them leaflets, having them leave, warning them ahead of time that they are coming in, feeding them. They said he said that they were providing 3,000 calories of food per person per day, with tons of food being brought in. And he, remarked, the many UN delegates walked out and would not listen to his speech. But, he spoke about how you have all these groups like Hamas and Houthis and Iranians say death to America. He gave a pop quiz of which of the following groups have killed Americans or have said death to Americans, and they all, everyone he listed did. And, he talked about how, the work that Israel is doing to stave off terrorism is something that many countries have appreciated and thanked him for. But after October 7th happened, they quickly turned their back on him. And I have said since this started, the UN should have immediately October 7th and October 8th worked to get the hostages back. And Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the UN, delineating, what they've done and what they will continue to do to try to get their hostages back, in terms of them being, in the tunnels and Hamas hiding behind their citizens. And it's a horrible situation, and we all want the war to stop. We all want this to stop. We also do not want Hamas to continue to rule Palestine. I think we all, I think all sides agree with that. There's the Hamas is a terror group, and to reward them, with their own state after what they did and the terror they cause, no, it's a no deal to Trump, to Netanyahu, to most individuals who understand the what Hamas stands for. But President Trump said that we are close to a deal. Today, when he was on his way to the Ryder Cup, he had said that they are very close to striking a deal that will end the war in Gaza, return the hostages, and bring peace. So this is, this is, I don't want to say huge, because we keep hearing, that there's a potential deal and then Hamas reneges and it never, follows through. And unfortunately, these people have been in captivity for almost 2 years. And I pray they're still alive. But, to get the bodies back and to get the hostages back, is requiring, looks like, years of diplomacy, which should have never happened if the UN and other countries stepped up saying, no. Now, this is not good. This is not good for everybody. And so, when I was listening to Netanyahu's speech, and when I was seeing, people walk out, and when you see the protests and people, accusing Israel of genocide, and I just don't understand why we don't have all the countries say, look, let's, it's obvious that the war stops if the hostages come home. It's horrific to think what is still happening and that it's taking this long. And I just don't understand why you don't have every country within the UN we're coming in, we're bringing these hostages back. Hamas, we'll make a deal where Israel will not continue to attack you once the hostages come, which it will set. Once the hostages come home, it's done. But Hamas has revered in what happened and has threatened that they're going to do it again and again. And so how do you have that threat? And, when you're there in Israel, I mean, Gaza is just, 20-30 minutes away from major city centers. I mean, the proximity is it's frightening to think that you have a terrorist organization that, one, is holding their Palestinian population, captive, and many Palestinians wanted to leave when Israel said, look, we're going to be coming in. All right, you want to leave, move to safer areas. And Hamas wouldn't let them leave. I mean, we need to free Palestine from Hamas. And the messaging is completely skewed. And the misinformation and the lies. I mean, remember there was that rocket that people were saying Israel is rocketing their hospital. And then the media was, oh, no, looks like it did come from the Gaza side. It was their own friendly fire. But then nobody covered that part of it. You're like, come on, people. If you want peace in the Middle East, if you want to stop war, if you want to save hostages' lives, if you want to prevent there from being future hostages, if you want to have individuals who are LGBTQAI+ to be able to have freedom to be who they are in Gaza and Palestine, whereas they have the freedom to be who they are in Israel, we need to get terror groups out of control. We need to ensure that they are not ruling citizens. When you saw the guns and you saw the Hamas cells within schools and hospitals, and using their civilians as shields. It's disgusting. And I mean, let's say, Trump and Netanyahu and everybody that wants to help get these hostages out. I still want to ensure that Palestinians do not have Hamas ruling them. And there was a recent poll that had said that the majority of Palestinians had supported the Hamas attack. I don't think that's true. I don't think the women and children and men really wanted to see that happen. And then seeing the naked bodies of the women they raped and killed driven around the city. I don't believe that's the case. Yet that's what the news is saying, that the majority of Palestinians supported what Hamas did. Now, is it because Hamas had a gun to their head when they were taking this poll? But it's a horrible, dangerous situation over there, and to not see other countries want to help, and then they say, well, what we'll do is we'll have Hamas will have their own country. They'll run Palestine. They're not running Gaza well. They've been running Gaza now for years. Something's got to get done. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So every year we get this ranking of the happiest states in America. Yeah, and what are we supposed to be doing with this? So if I'm in a state that's not too happy, what do I move? But it's always interesting, and the media likes to cover it. And Wallet Hub does a pretty good job getting the story out there, where they rank U.S. states by happiness using 30 different indicators: emotional, physical well-being, work environment, adult depression rates, income growth, your commute time, volunteer rates, and life expectancy. So it's a lot of metrics. And a score of 100 represents maximum happiness. And it seems to me every year Hawaii comes up first. But their score is 66. So it's not 100%. I don't know if I would believe, a score of 100%. Especially with all the different metrics. But Hawaii always seems to perform well. Maryland came in second. Nebraska came in third. New Jersey came in fourth. And Connecticut came in fifth. Rounding out the top 10 was Utah, California, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Idaho. West Virginia, I guess, came out at the bottom. I live in Nevada. Nevada's score was 45. So I don't know where that ranked. I'm trying to look at there. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Just because I live in Nevada, I care about that. New York came in number 16. Kansas, number 27. Nevada came in number 40. So 40 out of 50 states. So the bottom 10 were Nevada, Colorado, Mississippi, Kentucky, New Mexico, Tennessee, Alaska, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, and West Virginia. So when you look at the bottom of the list, they say the Southern and Appalachian states rank the lowest in the happiness scale. West Virginia, Louisiana, and Arkansas, the bottom three. Is it because of poverty? Is it because of lower life expectancy? They suggest maybe, according to visualcapitalist.com, limited access to medical services and mental health services. But, going back to this idea of a happy state and Hawaii always ranking high. What is it about Hawaii? Is it that they're on an island? I mean, Hawaii is exquisite. Is it that they're getting a lot of fresh air? Is it that they're eating healthier? You're getting a lot of fish. You're getting fresh vegetables and fruits. Is it that, tourism, which is a huge, huge industry there, is maybe a, shall we say, less stressful or negative sort of career or industry than steelworking, than farming, than I think some people put too much weight into these studies, but all I know is, when I go to Hawaii, and I haven't gone in a while, I'm happy. I mean, Hawaii does put me in a good mood, but I couldn't live there long term. It's interesting. I've had some friends that have lived in Hawaii, and they do get what they call it, island fever. They feel very isolated. And for me, I like to fish. I think surfing is fun. I like scuba diving. I like snorkeling, but it's expensive, and it's really expensive to go there. And I'm also picking up on that many of the locals feel that the tourists are rude to them. And I don't blame them for thinking that, because I've seen some rude tourists. Many of the locals think the tourists are altering the, dynamic and the peacefulness. The traffic is ridiculous there. And I understand that traffic was one of the metrics, but you are on the wiki in Honolulu, that's a mess. The one-lane highway to Lahaina in Maui, again, it's a mess. Always busy. So when we judge happiness, we're talking about kids and their higher rate of depression and anxiety, and how these kids are on medication. We really need to. The one reason why I do talk about these Wallet Hub studies of the happiest states and looking at, some of these is because we're going to have to learn how to be happier without medication, without fancy cars. idea of happiness seems to revolve around money, or it revolves around TikTok followers, or our looks. And me, if I'm fishing and I catch, right, the big fish of the boat, which I've done, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm on cloud nine. If I find, a moray eel while scuba diving or snorkeling, and I was able to spot it and get a good picture. I mean, these are things that I think there's a lot of things out there that can make people happy, but it's very subjective and it's very goal-oriented. So you'll have individuals that'll practically risk their lives taking a selfie, and then they get the good picture and they're happy. Well, what if they don't get the good picture? Do they now get depressed? And 50 years ago, you'd be like, what? You're happy because of a picture? I'm happy because my wife went to the doctor and she doesn't have cancer. We've learned recently to look at trivial things as, I guess, emotional nuggets to help feed our emotions and to help modulate our emotions. You post something on Facebook, and if you get multiple likes, you're happy. That's dangerous. Because how many people post things and they get crickets and they don't understand that there's shadow banning and there's algorithms. So if you post something, pro-Trump, that might not get seen. You post something pro-Kamala or something else, that, and people don't understand that, and their happiness is based on these superficial, artificial things. Look at how we have these young girls using AI apps to determine how pretty they are and to rank them. That's frightening. And we might need to redefine what happiness is and what makes us happy. I didn't mind the long commute when I went to UCLA. I was in the car for an hour and a half. And I don't remember being sad or unhappy. Now, that commute sucked, but I listened to music. I had a tape with my favorite songs, and I would listen to music. And it would be a great wind down, and now people can listen to audiobooks, and they could listen to podcasts. And I've been able to turn commutes into things that aren't, I love to drive. And so my recommendation is if you feel that you are struggling with being happy, you need to define what exactly are you looking at. Is it financial security? Is it health? Is it you're in pain? Because these are things that can affect your happiness. But if you find that it's superficial stuff, well, he didn't call or he didn't text or she gave me a look, you deserve better. Your emotions deserve a lot better. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.